How big a problem is drugs in Sydney at the moment?
It's huge. You know, I don't know, I don't get out and about the way I used to, but you go to any nightclub, pub, anywhere in the eastern suburbs and there's cocaine. But I've talked to other people, I'm like, it's not just in the eastern suburbs, it's everywhere. Tradies, you know, cocaine is quite common. Ice is also a huge amount of money is being made out of ice. And again, it's bikies and organised crime making the money, a huge markup. Sydney and Australia generally, our drug users are willing to pay top dollar. So the Mexican cartels, the South Americans, they swamping here to try, you know, because they make so much money. So it's, you know, it's a massive problem that is brought to the New South Wales doorstep because of our borders stopping it. So, you know, our cops basically will tell you that they have to clean up the problem because of our porous borders.
Well, there have been many laws over the years targeting bikies, which you just mentioned. Why haven't they worked?
Well, they have kind of worked in a lot of ways. The bikie of yesteryear that used to drive around in packs and the intimidation and extortion, you don't see them anymore. You hardly see colours. They've almost become underground and they've become criminal networks. So those laws have worked. You know, we had consorting laws, we have firearm prohibition orders, and they go kicking doors. So in many ways, they've cut out a lot of violence towards the pub and the intimidation that we used to see. You know, I'm sure you would have seen years ago packs of bikies, you know, up and down the highways and in pubs. That's gone. But we still have now organised crime networks who are bikie gangs, who are distributing drugs, and if somebody gets in their way, they're quite not averse to killing them, kidnapping them, which has now become another new like crime wave in Sydney amongst crooks, is kidnapping them for either money or for their drugs, and they're cutting off fingers and pulling out teeth. You know, they're not just the old kneecapping, they've gone next level. They're torturing people.
Do you have confidence the leadership of the police is on top of the gang problems in Sydney at present? We have a relatively new commissioner.
I know we have a relatively new commissioner, but the people that are below her are people that have been watching and working on these people for a long, long time. I think we have a high-profile shooting, and straight away we start baying for blood, or we're going, it's out of control. If we look historically, it's been going on for years. We just, you know, I think back in the 80s, there were, you know, in 8-9 months, there were 9 or so guys killed or just vanished. Now we actually see it happening in public, and that is the big thing. They're shooting in public, and they're getting captured on CCTV and put on social media. So the perception of these murders is you know, magnified compared to yesteryear. But having said that, well, I do think, you know, it is frightening what's happening, and the fact that we've had at least three innocent people killed as collateral damage is not a very good thing to be happening.
And finally, you previously said publicly it's one of the worst times you can remember for crime gangs and criminal violence in Sydney. Do you still believe that's the case? I think maybe if I temper that with the late 90s, with the 5T gangs running around with the machetes, and the heroin drug problem when there were people dropping dead in the streets and overdosing. So I think relatively that would probably be a worse era, and the shootings were definitely 10 times worse. And back then we actually had an MP killed by an Asian crime gang. So that's a little bit more relative to what's happening at the moment. John Newman. All right, Mark Morri,
Yes.
Thanks so much for your time this afternoon.